They came at dusk, 3 men in black uniforms, white SUV idling at the curb, radios crackling like insects. The patch on their sleeves said, HOA, Security Enforcement. That was my first clue. Something was off. My homeowners association doesn't have cops, but that didn't stop them from trying to act like it. Open the garage, Mr. Dalton. Compliance check under Regulation 14B. Regulation 14B? I'd never heard of it, and when I said so, the guy leading them smiled through the camera like he'd rehearsed it. I could smell the fake authority through the metal door. My name's Jake Dalton, U.S. Army Recon Tech, retired. I fix engines now, feed my old shepherd Gracie, and mind my own business. That night, I was just tightening a bolt when the so-called HOA cops decided to play SWAT in my driveway. Gracie's ears twitched before I even heard the knock. Easy, girl, I whispered. Let's see what kind of clowns we're dealing with. Another knock harder. Step out, hands visible. They were trying to sound official, but their belts were too light, their gear too clean. Toys, not weapons. My cameras showed 3 men, one with a name tag, Bennett. Behind him, the SUV had no plates, windows tinted so dark they looked painted. You're trespassing, I told them. This is private property. Bennett raised a phone to the camera and showed a video of me right here in this garage aiming a rifle at someone. Problem was, I'd never done that, and the sunlight in the clip was coming from the wrong side. It was fake. Nice try, I muttered. For the safety of the neighborhood, we need to inspect your firearms, Bennett said. That line, for safety. That word's become the leash of the century. I called through the door, You can talk to the sheriff like everyone else. He smirked, then said, Last warning, Mr. Dalton. Don't make us escalate. Escalate. I'd heard that word too many times overseas. It means we're about to cross a line. Before I could answer, the power died. Click fan stopped lights out, fridge silent. They'd cut my breaker. Here we go, I whispered. My hand drifted toward the crowbar hanging above the bench. No sudden moves, no panic. Just measure, wait. Outside, I heard boots crunching gravel. He's stalling, one voice said. On 3, said another. Then, from the shadows behind my shelves, a whisper. Hold your position, Dalton. I've got this. My blood froze. That voice shouldn't exist. 12 years ago, Marcus Kane, Navy SEAL, my brother-in-arms, died in Syria. The Pentagon called it no recovery possible. Yet, there he was, a ghost in my garage. Before I could speak, a faint red laser sliced through the dark, then a pop compressed air. The outside floodlight fizzled out. Targets blinded, Marcus murmured. Calm. Efficient. The kind of tone that makes chaos sound like a plan. Bennett cursed. Radios flared static. What the hell? Another man tripped, shouting. Marcus moved like a shadow, every motion surgical. You didn't see me, he said quietly. Not yet. When the fake cops finally retreated, I just stood there in the dim light, shaking half from adrenaline, half from disbelief. Jesus Christ, I whispered, you're supposed to be dead. Marcus gave a small grin that didn't reach his eyes. That's what they told the Pentagon. Easier paperwork. He'd been tracking them. He said this HOA security group wasn't just a few power-hungry volunteers. They were part of something bigger. He placed a tiny black receiver on my workbench. Found this in your mailbox. Emits a heat scans every few hours, identifies gun owners, vets, anyone flagged in a federal database. I stared at it, horrified. Who's behind this? He looked up. A firm out of Arlington. Civic Dominion, LLC. They're using HOAs as cover. Data collection disguised as neighborhood safety. I laughed the bitter kind. So the HOA became Homeland Security now. He didn't smile. They're building maps, Jake. Phase 4 of something called Operation Dominion. He pulled up a tablet showing a red-dotted grid of my neighborhood, every house broadcasting signals. Every family watched. You're not the only one, he said. I wanted to believe it was paranoia. But when he cracked the device open, the military-grade chip inside said otherwise. They used me as bait, I muttered. You were the test, Marcus said, but now you're proof. That night, we found out my neighbor Linda Graham had been forced to sign a fake witness statement saying I'd threatened the HOA board with a gun. They blackmailed her with her husband's hospital bills. They said if I didn't cooperate, I'd lose my home, she cried. The name behind it all, Diane Carter, HOA, President and Dominion's Regional Director. I'd seen her before, smiling on HOA newsletters preaching about community integrity. Now I saw what integrity really meant to her control. Marcus and I followed the trail to a white van parked near the park entrance labeled Community Compliance Unit. Inside, we found shelves of identical transmitters, each tagged with a different neighborhood. Half the counties wired, Marcus muttered. Bennett was inside too, typing on a laptop. We hit them fast. Marcus yanked the door open, weapon drawn. Hands up. Bennett tried reaching for something wrong move. Marcus slammed his wrist against the console. You're going to tell me where the uplink is? Bennett sneered, blood on his lip. You really think this ends here? Dominion doesn't need this van. The hub's already live. He glanced toward the park shed. A faint pulse of light blinked beneath the door. Marcus's eyes narrowed. He's not bluffing. We torched the van fire, clawing at the night, then stormed the shed. Inside, racks of portable servers blinked like a living organism. Marcus linked into one, tracing the feed to arlingtoncivicdominion.net. Files spilled across the screen. Contracts, target lists, HOA, names, payments. And there she was, Diane Carter, live feed from a conference room, calm as a surgeon. Deploy compliance teams to Dalton's block, she said. Phase 4 moves to Phase 5 after the vote. Marcus copied everything onto a drive. Enough to bring federal heat, he said. For a moment, I felt a surge of victory until exhaustion hit. I'd spent years trying to live quietly to believe in normal again. Maybe I should have just opened the damn garage, I muttered. Marcus looked at me, eyes steady. Normal's dead brother. HOA wrote the obituary. He was right. That night, as the van burned and the servers hummed, something shifted inside me. The anger, the disbelief, all hardened into purpose. I wasn't going to be bait anymore. At dawn, we infiltrated City Hall the day of the county HOA reform vote. Dominion's final move. The ordinance looked harmless. Localized governance infrastructure transfer. In plain English, it meant merging every HOA under one authority, Dominion's. Marcus handed me a fake volunteer badge. We get in, find the coordination hub, and pull their feed. Inside, hundreds of terminals blinked with the Dominion logo. Data streamed to an off-site server tagged ARL Core Dime 05. Arlington again. Bingo, Marcus whispered. He plugged in the drive. On one screen, Diane Carter's face appeared cool and smug. Adjust Lakeside Precinct upward by 2%. Maintain parity. 2%, that was enough to swing the entire county. Before we could copy the last file, alarms blared. Security lockdown. Real officers this time or so, I thought. 3 men in Dominion armor stormed the hall. Marcus dropped one with an elbow strike. I pulled another into the wall. A deputy, Kyle Renner, burst in behind them, gun drawn. Sheriff's Department. Drop your weapons. Marcus flashed a badge. You're late to the party, deputy. Your system's compromised. Renner hesitated, saw the Dominion feed on the screen, and realized the truth. Jesus, they've hijacked City Hall. Then the monitors turned red. Remote override initiated. Dominion was wiping evidence. Move, Marcus shouted. We bolted down the stairwell as metal shutters slammed behind us. Renner followed, pale and shaken. We dove into a maintenance corridor just as the compliance team fired through the door. Bullets sparked off steel. In the dark, Marcus whispered, "They'll hunt us for this." "So, what else is new?" I said, loading my last mag. My hands were steady now, too steady. War had come home again, only this time the enemy wore HOA badges. We crawled through a vent as the upload finished. "Data's safe," Marcus breathed. "Hayes has it." The hatch above us burst open to daylight. Sirens screamed outside. Real cops, maybe. Or Dominion's next layer. We didn't wait to find out. By sunrise, Dominion's version of the story was already on every channel. City Hall lockdown linked to domestic terror suspects. That was us terrorists. They'd written the ending before the ink was dry. I remember Marcus muttering, "It's not news, it's containment." That night we watched the fallout from a distance. Agent Evelyn Hayes went public with the files. She stood on the courthouse steps, calm but fierce. Civic Dominion has used local HOAs as instruments of unlawful surveillance and influence, she said. They've turned governance into a commodity. The crowd roared not confusion, but anger. Finally, people saw it. Dominion's board collapsed in 48 hours. Diane Carter was led out of her office in handcuffs, still wearing that perfect suit. When reporters asked for comment, she just whispered, "It was supposed to work." I didn't feel triumph, just quiet, like the world had tilted back, but not all the way. Dominion's networks were dismantled, their stock tanked, but Marcus warned me, "You kill the head, the roots stay." Weeks later, I sold my house. Too many ghosts in those walls. Built a cabin out in hill country. No HOA, no regulations, no one measuring the color of my fence. Some nights, when the wind hums through the trees, I swear I still hear the faint buzz of a Dominion sensor, the echo of a machine pretending to be authority. But then it fades, replaced by real silence, the kind you earn. A week ago, I got a letter. No return address, one sentence only. Phase 6 is prevention. Keep your eyes open. No signature, but I knew the handwriting. Marcus Kane. I folded it, smiled, and poured myself a cup of coffee. Because if there's one thing I learned through all this, when power hides behind good intentions, that's when you start watching closest.